Hey everyone, welcome back to Two Bros Sitting in a Hot Tub 6 feet apart because it's a podcast to talk about our latest music video. My name's Keaton Punch and I wrote, directed, filmed, and edited the music video for this song, How You See Me. And here with me is...
Matthew, Eunith. I made the song, How You See Me. And am always enthusiastic and lucky to work with my homie Keaton.
Thank you, Matthew. So as per usual, these podcasts allow us to share our entire production with all of you listening. So we're going to talk about how we planned for it, how we executed it, and how we edited this music video, which was a bit more high effort than we were expecting compared to our last one, which was also high effort, but this one topped it even more, surprisingly.
Yeah, it really did. Almost unsurprisingly, in a way, because I feel like that's just what we tend to do, is just keep aiming higher and higher.
Yes. And when did we start planning for this music video? Do you remember?
I don't remember. Was it at the end of October? Was it right after the other one? Or was it in November? Because we end the last video with the hallway shot, and I think you already knew. Did you already know? You said, I think I want to pick it up from that hallway shot.
No, that was not a foresight I had in the beginning. And I believe we didn't start planning any concepts or anything for this music video until after we recorded the podcast for the Place Me music video.
Okay.
So that is way after the fact. I believe that was very late October.
Yeah, either that or early November.
Yeah. And I remember during that podcast, I was talking about my inspiration for the Place Me video, how kind of the first lines of that song, Place Me Within Your Grasp. I'm like, oh, that kind of makes me think of, Matthew could be reaching for something that's like his goal, and we can make a story out of it, and that's where it came from. And in that podcast, I'm like, all right, what's the first line of How You See Me? And then you're like, here's the noise, or here's the taste, here's the noise. I'm like, that's not very helpful, but well,
that's right.
We'll think about it. And then maybe a couple weeks passed, and I brought up the idea of, like, what if this music video kind of continued where Place Me ended with that hallway shot, and like maybe the hallway shots panned right, and that's where it all started.
Absolutely.
And you thought that was pretty cool, yeah?
Continuity is just like such a way into my heart. I'm trying to think of the ways into my heart with like movies. Robots, time travel, like good continuity of like, oh, here we go, are you paying attention? And no, I think that's it. Those are kind of the ways into my heart. Yeah, I guess I like sci-fi.
Yeah, and as soon as you were kind of telling me that you were down to have it start that way, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll start thinking of something.
Yeah.
I had no plan whatsoever.
Nope.
And I had to have listened to that song every single day for at least a week, just trying to think of something, trying to find inspiration somewhere. And
thank you for the streams.
And most of the time when I think of my music video concepts, I don't really use much of the lyrics to inspire the visuals. I just try to use the sound itself to build a visual or an atmosphere or a world for the music video to take place so that it complements the audio that you're hearing. And so after listening to it so many times, I remember it was on a late night drive home, and I had the song playing, and then it just clicked all of a sudden. Like some ideas, they just surprisingly happened out of nowhere. And I was thinking of having you trying to escape this room that keeps bringing you back from where you started, and it's like a paradox. So I pitched that very vague concept to you, and you were into it.
Yep, you did. I think you said, look, I have a couple ideas. I think a huge space with some type of ocean, and then some form of paradox room where you loop. And I was like, yep, you got me. That's it. It's really adjacent to time travel, which I already said is like kind of the way to my heart as well. So we did it. You did it.
Yeah, and you brought up the black ocean and the void kind of visuals right then. And that had been sticking with me for the longest time. You had shared this song with me a long time ago, probably in the summer. I heard it for the first time.
Correct.
And is that called the pre-chorus?
Yes, that is the pre-chorus.
Swim between the fear and sleep. So that pre-chorus had such like a strong resonance to me. Just the ambience to it stood apart from the rest of the song, and it made me think of these very abstract visuals with you in a black void, very reminiscent from the movie Get Out and the sunken place. Very iconic scene in that movie.
And I had never seen it, and you brought it up, and I was like, huh? Like an idiot. But I should, I mean, I still haven't seen the movie. I should go. Sorry, Jordan. Director Jordan Peele. I'll go see it.
So I knew for the longest time I wanted to have that visual part of this music video, so I figured out a way to tie it in and created this very, very simple story where you enter this room and you discover right away that anytime you try to exit, you're brought back into the room again, and then it just evolves over time, and then we start seeing your visions of this black ocean world, and you're free falling and you go underwater, and then you finally emerge from the water. And I used the structure of the song itself to sort of pace it out and figure out a good tempo and a good just structure for the video itself. That's one great thing about when I plan for these music videos is the songs already have a structure to it.
Yeah.
So it's already sort of laid out for me how things will be paced and how things will flow. So I just have to use just the beats of the song to motivate how things are being cut within the video.
It means we got to do some more free-form poetry videos for you to really challenge you. No structure, just all chaos, and see what you come up with.
Oh boy. And as we were planning for this, we wanted to think of all kinds of scenarios for the paradox room that would be appropriate. I knew I didn't want to bring too much attention to like any specific person, so we try to keep it more broad and just like themed and moody.
You're right. I think we were saying that if we have too much of a character in one, it'll be like, is this a villain? Is this the person who's trapped you in the room? And it might become too focused on that as opposed to just the room being this place that I need to get out of.
Yeah, the room is the character.
Yeah, that was a good call because I could easily see it. Because you don't want to put a character in there who's too nondescript anyway. But if there's just this one person, you know, interacting with me or something, it begs the question like, okay, do they have importance? And you only have what, like 4 minutes and some change to get through the song, so it would kind of require some level of addressing, like who is that, what is that. Doing it the way that you did with the story elements made it a lot more like, no, it's just this room, he's going through it, boom, done.
Yeah. And then it wasn't until probably after I started editing everything together that I realized that there was sort of sense to every time we transitioned through your eyeball and how that fit within the overall structure of this story, which was not something because I don't really think too deep about the ideas I come up with. I just want to create cool stuff and have people be entertained by it. And
you heard it here first. I just want to create cool stuff. Put it on a t-shirt. Hyphen punch.
But I realized it was a bit deeper than what I imagined. So what I thought of is that every time the camera transitions through your eyeball, we're actually seeing a glimpse into the future of what will happen to you. After you walk through the mirror, you will be transported to the free-falling sequence in the clouds, and it goes in that order. And I just thought that was so cool to have that realization. And I feel like people will make that connection too once they watch the video.
Yeah. I remember I spoke, and I won't go into all the details, but I spoke over lunch with you about a sci-fi story that I'd read as a teenager that was talking about your relationship to the past and the future and how we look back at the past so much, but what if you could look into the future more often as well, as like a normal part of the human experience, and how that would affect your fear or apprehension towards what's going to come. I won't get into the details or the weeds of it. I still need to find this book. By the way, it was a short story. It was good. And when you clued into that happening with the transitions to the eyes, I was like, hey, it feels like I've addressed this thing that I remember from my adolescence. And that was really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Going back to coming up with the different moods and scenarios, there were a couple that didn't make it in that we thought of maybe 15 total, but 10 ended up making it in just for the sake of pacing.
Correct.
We only had roughly 10 seconds to show all of these moods, so we had to make sure that it was very recognizable right away. And
that's the hard part with music videos, you know, is that the songs aren't 30 minutes long. I mean, yeah, I guess they could be if you're crazy. Like if you want to make
have like an extremely long intro.
Yeah, like, you know, but overall, whenever you want to include multiple of anything in a video and they're not going to be grouped together, it's like multiple places, multiple events in a video, multiple costumes even in a video. It's sort of like, well, how much effort are you going to expend for how many seconds that element is going to spend on screen? And I mean, we did it with Back Here. It was just sort of like how long were some of those scenes on camera, and the same thing here. How long were some of those rooms on camera? And it's a ton of effort, but I think we always feel when we expend that level of effort, even for the small details, it's like, oh yes, this is what's giving it that level of just excellence that we try to hold the videos to and try to look back on with, okay, I feel great about the work that we did on that, and like we didn't slack on it in any way. It's good, but it's a ton of work.
Yeah, I get lots of people telling me sometimes, my dad, one of those people, like, why do you spend so much effort on a shot that's only going to be in the video for just a few seconds or 5 seconds?
Yep.
Just because I want it to look good. And I want people to know that we care about putting effort into these scenes, and we are getting just so many other people involved that I want it to feel special to them too, not just to us. So by putting effort into the set design or the lighting, it shows that we really do care about these productions, and we don't want it just to be like a music video, because we don't want to create a music video just to create a music video. We want to create it because it's something that we're passionate about, and we want it to be impressive and to inspire others in the end.
And you don't know what little moment is going to be the impressive moment, or what little moment is going to inspire someone in the end. So if you put effort into all of the little moments, someone will come away from it maybe latching on to a part that, you know, you don't think is like, oh, that was your favorite part? Okay, cool. But so great that is your favorite part, even this small thing.
We spent a little bit more time than I was expecting coming up with the specific outfit that you're wearing.
Yeah.
And what are some of the things that led us to decide on this particular outfit? Do you remember?
Yeah, okay. So you mentioned to me what we were going to have to go through for the ocean scenes, and the wind that would have to be blowing like my actual clothing. So we couldn't have me in anything that was too heavy or too blocky and wouldn't show that level of movement. And then I think we already knew that I was going to have to get into this jacuzzi at one point as well. So it was like, well, don't choose anything that's near and dear to your heart that you're not willing to get into a chlorinated pool. So that was another one. And
I also remember some of the options I brought that day. Right away when I proposed one of the outfit options to you, you're like, this is way too similar to the Place Me outfit.
Yeah.
I'm just like, whoa, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was surprised that you had such a strong opinion right away, but I was like, yeah, you're right.
I guess I didn't in the past feel like I was too invested in kind of like, what's the wardrobe, what's the costume, as opposed to what was happening. But knowing that this was another video like Place Me, in the sense that I would be in the same outfit the entire time, unlike Back Here where I'm in like a million outfits. Right now I was in 3 different outfits, I believe. Anyway, knowing that I would be in that outfit for the whole time, I wanted it at least. Whoa, you guys hear this wind?
We are really out here in a windstorm today.
Sunny, windy Januaries of Central California. I knew that I wanted something that was at least going to be a little bit distinct from it. And I think that there's something else to it as well. I realize the value whenever you make a piece of art like a music video, or you take photos or anything, to bring other brands, other companies, other artists into that space as well and kind of share it with them really makes it a multi-layered experience. So I really like that, it gives me a chance to kind of express myself on a different level, I should say. So I think I will try to actually lean more into wardrobe elements as these creative avenues for future videos as well. Sorry, that was a lot about clothes.
And I guess one more detail that went into deciding how the outfit looked is I didn't want it to be too dark because there were going to be a lot of dark scenes, especially the black ocean scenes, which do have like pitch black backgrounds.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that you had enough contrast against those scenarios.
Right. That's right.
And it worked out so well. I believe those black ocean scenes are my favorite from all of the music video, just because it has such a high quality feel to it.
Yeah.
And particularly, I remember watching after I edited the credits and seeing you in that scene, and just like the tans and the deep blue shadows behind you. It felt like something you would see like in a Star Wars movie. It just had a very very moody look like that.
I'm glad. More moody. More mood. Love mood. Anyway.
So, something I was also surprised about in this video, we typically try to include at least maybe one silly or joke moment in all our productions.
True,
and
we do.
I don't think there was a single like joke per se in this video. I mean, maybe you could say something about like the birthday party scene with maybe some of the reactions, but nothing like specific that we planted in these scenes that were supposed to like make people laugh.
No, I don't think there was. Some of the other, it's so hard because from just spending time with me, even outside of like working with me, like just hanging out, I definitely turn to humor like very reflexively to just kind of deal with anything or to kind of transition into whatever we're talking about. And it just didn't work in this song. Like it wasn't going to fit anywhere in the song. I felt like it would undercut the vibe, the driving pace of the actual audio itself. So we didn't put anything into it. I think that's a good challenge. I think that is a good challenge. A lot of people say in like the movie making world that like comedy is actually pretty hard because, especially on the acting side too, like a lot of people just can't be funny. But, and it's gonna sound like such an egotistical D-bag thing of me to say, but I don't find being funny hard. Like I don't. Being being very serious.
Also, comedy, I feel like
is hard for me.
Being an editor or a cinematographer with comedy, it's a lot more forgiving if you do make mistakes because it kind of adds to the silliness of the scene. So you don't have to really be so focused on being perfect with comedies, because there are tons of imperfections with comedies. But with this,
we're gonna get like all the like independent comedy filmmakers just like spewing hate in the comments here, just coming out of the woodwork to be like, you don't know anything about making a comedic movie. Like
we've done like tons of silly stuff.
I'm about to say we're not claiming to be geniuses. We're not claiming to be Judd Apatow like comedic, like pumping it out or anything.
I think we have made some very funny stuff. I mean, just a couple months ago we made that commercial for the karaoke videos, and I thought that was hilarious.
I think that
it is just more challenging with dramas because you do have to take things more seriously, and you do have to take the editing and the camera work a lot more seriously too, because it's just the most appropriate choice every time for every shot.
Yeah. Although I will admit, we definitely laughed on set every day.
Yeah.
Penelope being our victim in the one crime scene was hilarious the whole time. For that whole scene it was really funny to shoot that. Sorry for keeping derailing that. I know we have questions probably.
Yeah, we've got some questions. I mean, I kind of want to keep our flow of order in which we did things. But one of the questions is, how long did it take to film?
Okay.
I think it took us maybe a total of 5 days, possibly 6, because we had a reshoot day. So we had 1 day to film the intro scene at John and Adrian's house that takes place in the beginning of the video.
Thanks, guys.
And we had
Emilio's place
2 days.
Okay, thank
only
you.
2 days to film everything that takes place inside that Paradox room at Woolworths.
My gosh, that is true.
And we had another day that we did the free-falling scenes, and then we had a reshoot day for that, so that's 5. And then 6 for the hot tub. And this very hot tub, forgot to mention that in the beginning, the whole reason why we are sitting here in this hot tub is because this is where all of the scenes where Matthew is either partially in the water or at the very end he gets out of the water. This is where it happens right here. We just had black fabric all over to cover every detail of the hot tub, and then we had a backdrop behind us. But I'm
was
getting
closer
too ahead of myself.
Yeah, it was closer
we're
to
just
that.
talking about how long it
I'll
took.
tell you about it.
So 6 days. Yeah.
Yeah, madness.
All in
Madness.
1 month of December.
All in 1 month. Bananas.
Which seemed to be the busiest month of the whole entire year. So many things went on, and we just gathered all our friends together to help us out. In the beginning, we did some stories on Instagram to see if we can get people to help us with the props and furniture for the set design.
Our friends came through. They came through with a lot of generosity.
Yeah.
So we are forever indebted. Thank you guys.
And a popular question every time is like, what was the biggest challenge of the video? And set designing the room was the biggest challenge.
Yeah. Hands down. Hands down.
It took us
3 days.
only 3 days, yeah, which is really quick.
A load-in day
set
with
design.
transfer.
Yeah.
A day 1 of styling and a day 2 of styling. That is.
And we also did provide a lot of our own furniture and pieces. I had a lot of things to add to the room. Thankfully, Dave Anderson had the beautiful couch that was our centerpiece of the room. Yeah.
That was, if you guys haven't seen the behind the scenes, I mentioned it briefly, but apparently Dave had some kittens a while back, and that was their favorite piece of furniture at home when they were with him. They love that couch, so it has good vibes. The couch is good vibes. Kittens like it.
Yeah. A lot of it was thanks to our friends Taylor Ray and Andrea.
You too. Pulled through.
So much.
Always.
So much thanks to you.
Yeah.
Really appreciate the
MVPs,
help.
honestly. We got a big MVP roster on this video. Yeah, I'm just so grateful. I'm also so impressed that people own cool stuff. People own such cool things, you know, especially all the artwork that we were able to borrow from friends. I loved seeing the artwork that our friends have.
We're not stopping the podcast until we're done
We're not
with this conversation.
stopping.
It's nice. We always try to make it interesting for these podcasts, even if you're not even watching the video. Just know we are out here in the elements. We've got wind, water, sunlight. It's all here.
So yeah, that's basically how long it took. And then I remember when we were done filming, it was just like, we're exhausted. Let's go. Let's all leave. We'll take our stuff back another day.
Yeah, it was very exhausting. And then editing took maybe a total of like 5 days for me to edit. I was taking care of all the editing, and I had Matthew take care of one of the effects that we will talk about very, very soon. Let's talk about another question real quick. Oh, here's a good one. How did we find the locations for filming?
Oh.
I think I took care of that.
Yeah, I think you took care of that.
Yeah. So the most important location that we had was the room at Woolworths, and our very generous friends, Dave and Emily, have been in the process of renovating that building.
Stay tuned for that.
Since last year. Maybe, I'm not sure how long, but it's been a long time since they've been working on it, and they've been a fan of our work and have always told us that if there's anything that they can do to help us, like, let us know. And so I never forgot that, and I reached out because I knew I wanted specifically a room with 2 doors so that the whole concept can work out. And I asked Emily first if I could just like get a quick tour through the building and see if any of those rooms fit that description. And fortunately, there was one room on the 2nd floor that was just perfect for us.
The magic room.
Although I will say, one of the details that does bother me that isn't really a deal breaker in the end was the direction the doors opened and closed. It wasn't very logical logical in the sense of how you were exiting and how the door.
True, that one would open out and one would open in. It would have been you step through a door, as opposed to I open the door, but I'm opening a door. Yeah. Well,
it still works out, and it still makes enough sense, so you get the idea. But it wasn't a deal breaker, so I'm just like, everything else is fine. It's got these beautiful, huge windows that are diffused, so it's perfect for lighting.
Easy lighting.
One huge downside is there were no power outlets in this room.
Oh, that is almost impressive for that room. The fact that there were no power outlets was
nowhere.
Mind-boggling, but yet we did have to run power everywhere. It feels like a sturdy how do I say it? It's like a sturdy space where you could make anything happen, but you got to bring everything in order to make it happen.
Just have lots of battery-powered things for your electronics.
That's true. That's true.
I think this one's a little bit more for me, which is how did I learn how to do the effects that involved you free falling or underwater or the room on fire or anything like that. And
Let's do it. Free fall. How?
Actually, I want to note real quick, when we were filming one of our first music videos, and let me just note real quick that we've done 7 music videos so far. I had to double check that number today to see how much, because it's only been like 2 years, and I'm surprised that we've done that much. But one of our first ones we've done was for Matthew's song called One Another, and while we were filming that, we had a just solid black backdrop behind you, and we realized how versatile that is in applying effects and editing.
So easy.
With just using blending modes.
Yep.
Or other techniques of that kind. And so I knew right away that I could easily fake some sort of effects that either involve water particles or wind, clouds going really fast.
Yep.
So that was just the approach I took right away. I knew that if I filmed you in front of just a solid black backdrop, it would be a breeze to add all these other elements and effects. So kind of self-taught in a way. We discovered that a long time ago, and we used it again for the They Wanted You music video. So it's just been very, very versatile having a solid black backdrop because you can do so much with it.
Shout out to Duvetine.
Yeah, right? The Duve.
The Duve. It's the material that is particularly non-reflective and it's just like darkness when the camera is in the lights.
It blocks light so well, so you could be doing those scenes in broad daylights when you're inside blocking out those windows, like nothing will come in there.
There's Duvetine behind me when I'm falling through the sky, when I'm underwater, when I'm in this jacuzzi. I think those are the ones where you use Duvetine for this shot, right? So what about fire, though? How'd you put the fire on there? How do we light the couch on fire?
Yeah. So to make it look like the couch was on fire, I've had these fire assets for years. There's a YouTube channel I follow.
They're called matches.
There's a YouTube channel I follow called Film Riot.
Okay.
RIOT, Film Riot. Shout out to you guys.
What's up, Film Riot?
They've done so many tutorials over the years on how to do effects, and these are assets that they created themselves. So it's CG fire assets, all kinds of perspectives that they provided. It's just a video clip on a black backdrop.
Yep.
And you use blending modes in your video editor. So with the screen blending mode, it makes anything that's pure black transparent so that the fire stands out and you're able to overlay onto your footage just fine. And while we were filming that scene, it was important to have the appropriate lighting. So we had my aperture lights and my nan lights set to the correct temperature that fire would give and have it flicker like fire would do. And placed it at a low angle because if the fire is low, it would be creating that light source coming from that angle. And we had
Corinne, stage all this in your mind and then virtually apply it.
Yeah, you basically place your lights where you want the fire to be so that it gives off that glow and that effect as if there really was fire there.
But then you overexpose it, you said, too, was the other thing.
In editing, you did have to overexpose the fire to make it how a camera would actually capture fire in real life, because fire is super bright.
Yeah.
It's so bright.
So if you want like the humans and the other stuff in the room to be like at normal light levels, the fire is probably blown out really bright.
Yeah. And we also had Corinne and AIDEN with a couple lights in their hands, just moving it up and down and circular motions to add even more character to the fire, so that's when I'm filming you, it's flickering and moving around almost like real fire would.
Yeah. There's so much magic that is possible with like other human elements helping at the same time, and the ways in which Corinne and AIDEN were able to help us, that we kind of have, you know, like 4 people attacking like these shots and moving elements is just like, oh, it makes so much more possible, and it also just makes things that might have been really difficult a lot easier. So honestly, involving people like a production team is always the coolest. Like the how do I say this? The improvement that you will see in your experience and in the final product is immediately obvious. So very pro people here.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and it's true, like, we could do these ideas on our own with just you and I, but it would take so much longer.
Really tough.
We would have to make compromises with some of the ideas we have so that we're not having to involve so many people. But we always take the opportunity to get more people involved because it just makes the experience overall so much more enjoyable, so much less stressful, and just a great time. So memorable. And I know it's valuable to these other people too because they want to be on set. They want to hang out with us. They want to make these cool productions
What
with us.
I love is seeing other people making other videos in town too. I mean, I know that when we were working on Place Me, we had just awesome help from John, Penelope, and Ramiro. And at that same time, they were working on making a music video with our friend David, Best Dad. And like that was like their full creation at around that same time too. Like they are making videos as well. So I love to see kind of everyone in creator roles of their own accord, in kind of like support roles when they have the time. It's what creates a very healthy artistic scene instead of having like just an artist here or there in town. So
yeah, and with these other people
I'm choking up.
With these other people creating these projects, it's never, it should never be seen as a competition. Like I am always so proud when I see them creating these productions because I don't want to be like,
yeah. I want everybody.
I want to be like,
I want everybody to make stuff.
Let's help each other out.
Everybody.
Let's inspire each other. And there's always ideas that we're trying that might be a bit risky, but we pull it off in the end. And then other people are like, how did you do that? And then we can teach them. We want to share our experience and our knowledge with everyone else. It's not sacred to just us. Like if you want to learn how we did something, we'll tell you.
Yeah.
Because we want more people to be making cool things, not just us.
Kick it with us and you'll see how everything's made.
Yeah.
we ain't secretive.
I forgot to touch on one thing I learned, which is called dry for wet. This is a concept that has been done in film for decades, just a couple decades. And it's basically when you have a scene that's supposed to take place underwater and you don't have the tools to put your camera underwater or the resources to build a set that's underwater or all these other things because water is very difficult to work with. And you basically film your talent completely dry and you use other things to simulate how water affects your talent. So for all the shots where Matthew seems to be underwater and he's trying to swim towards the surface and there's bubbles everywhere, Matthew was completely dry for that sequence.
Yep.
And we did that in my home studio with the Black Duva Team backdrops. And we had fans placed underneath at low angles to push all of your hair and your fabric up a little bit. And we also had to film it at a very high sped up version of the song so that when we slow down the footage, it gives your hair and everything else that very slow, sluggish, watery flow to it all. So you were having to lip sync to the song at a ridiculous speed, which I think is the first time we've done this effect.
Yes.
Where we slow down the footage afterwards so that your lip sync matches to the song. How was that experience for you to lip sync to the song with it being that fast?
Just, you have to get in the zone and you have to trust like this weird part of your gut when the lyric comes in, because everyone can hear like something start up and be like, oh, now I'm following it. But I had to time basically when I would start singing the pre-chorus, and it doesn't come in from another line that's like time it. It's like this weird like reverb, bonk, 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 bonk. So when you hear that sped up, it's not really indicative. So you just learn to count, and it's not even like counting a beat. It's just like counting this, because again, there's not like a lot of drums at that part. There's just counting this moment, like, okay, I think it's time. Swim between the fear and then start right there. So I missed it a couple times, but then you get into this rhythm and you're like, oh, I got this. I know where it's looping and I know where it starts and I know when to say it. I think it's often a question of how much do you want to articulate it with your mouth for the actual video. How much should it look like? Because I could kind of mumble it, but then I might look like this. If I over-articulate it, am I going to be like, will it look weird? So basically, I just give Keaton a bunch of options. I just give you a bunch of options, and then you kind of select what looks most realistic for that moment. That's another Tyra Banks, America's Next Top Model tip. You give your photographer, or your videographer in this case, a lot of options. You know, she always say, like, whenever you point, if you're doing a pose like that, you never know, like, where it's going to change a little bit. So, like, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there. Move the finger independently maybe of that. Give them a bunch of little options so that they'll find the right one, and they'll be like, oh, I just wish, you know, they won't say, I just wish one little thing was different. You give them options. Thanks, Tyra.
This was a really cool video. I could say it's my favorite one I've ever done. It's being very well received by everyone so far. And
thanks, guys, really.
More views.
Thank you so much.
Not to, like, put so much emphasis on views or anything, but for us, it kind of is a big deal because you're not, like, the most popular artist here in town by any means.
Nobody.
You're sporting just a little over 100 subscribers on YouTube.
What's up, people? Am I really?
Like,
there's not really that many subscribers. There's like 10.
No. You have like 130.
No way.
Yeah.
Wait, do I have new features available to me now? Like I can troll better now.
Get sponsored.
Yeah. Get sponsored.
And within 2 days, I believe, we had 1,000 views.
Yeah.
I announced that, and then now we are at 100,000 views.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Well, I was like, what the heck? There's no way.
But seriously, we are probably, by the time of posting this podcast, we are at 10,000 views.
Oh my gosh.
As of the moment in our real time right now, we are at 9.8 thousand views.
Okay, I had no idea.
Yeah, we're gonna have basically 10,000 by the time this podcast comes out.
Maybe. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your coworkers if they're into, music, and actually find the biggest Matrix fans that you know and tell them, like, oh, you like the Matrix? You're gonna love this video.
Yeah.
Because that part only happens for a second and it's near the end, so I would love to know that they have to wait through like 3 minutes of what's so Matrix about this to then see just the hand, no bullet time, no like leather, no like fighting, just a hand, and then be like, oh, you meant this? Please do that. Please do that for us. That'll be a favor. We'll be indebted to you.
And to wrap things up for reals this time, I just want to give another thank you to everyone who was involved in this production. We've got some newcomers this time. We've got Corinne, who was part of the crew, helping us out, assisting BTS, just so much help. And we've got some new faces as extras, including Faith. She's the first one I can think of, but I know we had a lot of people who have not been involved before, and it's always just a pleasure to get more people involved on camera and behind the scenes, and to finally have Dave and Emily be able to support us directly, not just with sharing our productions, but being a part of our productions.
Yeah.
And with the set design, everyone involved helping us that way. Thank you so much. That was the biggest challenge by far, is designing that set.
I mean, when people say, when artists sort of put themselves out there in this town, in this county even, and say, like, I want to be part of the music scene, we're not a venue owner, neither one of us is a venue owner, and we don't we don't schedule concerts or anything like that. We don't own a big studio where we could produce their like songs, but we do make music videos. Like, that is something artistic and fun that we do that exists in the musical space. So we want to show people who want to participate and want to be part of the music scene, hey, come on, jump into our open arms. You are welcome.
The water's fine.
Yeah, the water's fine. No, that's the cold water. This water is the warm water. This is cold. We want to let them know, welcome. Be part of the music scene in the way that we're part of the music scene. Which I know is kind of weird and funny in the way that we're part of the music scene. But it is a part that I think we're really proud of, and it really keeps us feeling fulfilled.
Yeah, and just to show others not to be afraid of crazy ideas that you might have, because this is an idea that probably would have been completely out of reach just maybe half a year ago or a year ago.
Yeah.
But just to have the confidence to give it a try and take a risk and maybe do the extra prep work so that it does work out, I think is very rewarding, and you should try these impossible ideas because they might just be possible in the end.
Risky business is possible if you're a prepper. Wait, this whole sentence is messed up.
And finally, we want to say we will always have more music videos in the future. No set dates yet, but they will come.
No.
And for those of you wondering if the Punch cinematic universe will continue, will the next music video pick up from where this one left off.
Oh, please.
You will have to stay tuned and see for yourself. I don't have any ideas right now, but
he'll think of something.
That's how I felt about the last one. I was clueless, but then after some time, I'm like, you know what, this could work out. So, who knows? It could happen, maybe not. We're always just trying to do something different from before. So
yep.
maybe it needs to be completely different next time, because that's how we work.
You'll find out when we find out.
Yeah.
Thanks, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Don't do it. Don't do it, Punch. Don't do it. Your headphones.